Brian Walton joins us from the CardinalNation.com. And the Cardinals have had so much success with their rookies this year. Brian, I was joking earlier, my friend, that we're getting greedy, so I had to get you on to find out, well, who the heck else is down there? Who else can come up here and help? No, the rookie impact's been profound. First of all, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Bernie, and you're absolutely right. It's funny because right before I came on, I went back and read our scouting report of Andre Pallante a year ago. And, of course, Pallante from the pitching side has been and of course, is tonight's starter, as you mentioned. And, has just been a revelation for the Cardinals this year. And folks may not remember that Pallante jumped all the way from short season ball to Double-A last year. He has never pitched a single game at Palm Beach or Peoria. He pitched extremely well in the Double-A rotation last year, got a taste of Triple-A at the end of the year, went to the Arizona Fall League, and then we found, hey, this is a guy that pushed his way onto the roster to come out of spring training camp, and has been a real difference maker for the Cardinals.
We hear this term a lot in sports, about an athlete's makeup, right? And that's the thing about Pallante. Listen, we know he's physically talented. They wouldn't have drafted him. They wouldn't have developed him. They wouldn't have given him this chance. He's obviously got talent. But he seems, gosh, an awfully composed young man. Very, very poised. It doesn't seem like he ever gets flustered. And he's had jams. There have been games where the bases got some runners and it's not entirely clean. But he fights through it. Did you see that part of him? Did you detect that would be a big part of what makes him good, that makeup and that? Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm rambling today. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Bernie. He's a guy that's handled a lot of responsibility very early, and he's a guy that's kind of in the sweet spot for where the Cardinals have had success before, selected in the 4th round. So a guy that a lot of teams looked at, but the Cardinals brought him in, a mature college pitcher. And, in his first full season to be pitching at Double-A, we talk about McGreevy and Graceffo doing that this year. Well, Pallante did that right out of the gate last year, and, I called him, the most anonymous top prospect in the system. And he was a guy that got raised from the Cardinals player development people regarding his maturity. Now, you take that with a grain of salt because they never say anything bad about their guys, but Pallante was a guy that really, folks hadn't heard anything about. And now, we're seeing him start in a, important series opener against the Cubs.
Yeah, he's been something else. Well, who do you think, Brian, it's not like they're going to be reaching for one of these guys anytime soon for something other than a spot start, but other than Liberatore, who we know that they'll give the ball to if they're in a pinch. But what other starting pitchers, who do you think and your staff think are the closest to being Major League ready? And it's probably a couple guys we've talked about, but just wanted to get your latest feeling on that.
Well, I don't want to overlook Zach Thompson and Johan Oviedo. They're up, but they've in the last week or so have shown that they can handle multiple inning pressure situations. Pitching in Milwaukee, that's a high impact type of environment. So those guys were in the Memphis rotation until very recently, and now it looks like they're going to stick with St. Louis for a while, at least if they continue to pitch as they have. In terms of who's still at Memphis, left-hander Connor Thomas doesn't blow you away, but again, another pitchability guy, doesn't beat himself. And, we've already seen with McFarland on the injured list, they may need some left-handed help soon. And Connor Thomas is a guy that, might get a shot before the season is out, and we'll have to see.
And do you think Graceffo's is he closer to the majors than McGreevy, or is it about the same?
Well, right now, they both pitched extremely well. Gordon Graceffo, who was a 5th-rounder last year from Villanova, and then, of course, Michael McGreevy, the 1st-rounder last year. They pitched equally well as polished college pitchers. They pitched equally well at High A Peoria to open the year. Then the two were promoted to Double-A Springfield, and McGreevy is pitching fine, but, his ERA is, in the upper 4s right now. He's given up more walks than he usually did and given up 6 home runs in 5 starts, which is uncharacteristic for him. So, he's getting used to the league. The Texas League, the Double-A League, is known as a hitter's league. But Graceffo hasn't missed a beat. In his 5 starts, his ERA is 2.73. Has only walked 2 batters and struck out 22 in 29 innings. So, Graceffo right now looks to be kind of ahead in the race between the two. But, last year, our discussion was about Thompson versus Liberatore, the two left-handers, which one's going to get there sooner. And we all thought probably Liberatore was going to be the one, and he did get there sooner, but it looks like Thompson may be the one with more staying power, at least initially. Now, I'm not saying that Zach Thompson is necessarily going to have the same career as Liberatore, but right now Thompson is contributing, and Liberatore is still in Memphis, continuing to work on his craft.
Brian Walton with us from the CardinalNation.com, and really the best place there is to keep on top of the Cardinals minor league teams, the prospects, and just the news and the developments. So we'll tell you how to support the CardinalNation.com here in a few minutes. What's your read on the Paul DeJong situation, Brian?
Who? I'm sorry. That's not fair, because Paul DeJong is a great individual. He's worked very, very hard. He's done everything asked of him, but the reality is he hasn't hit consistently. We read about a few games where he plays well and looks really good with a bat, and then he'll go into I think he's like a 3 for 23 funk right now. And, we've seen the rookies, again, you talked about them early on, Brendan Donovan, Nolan Gorman. These guys are middle infielders, and, there's no sense of urgency to bring Paul DeJong back other than to try to enhance his trade value, I think, at this point. Tommy Edmonds, of course, is there, and he's doing an exceptional job defensively. A lot of folks were worried, oh, my God, they can't move him to shortstop. He can't, he's going to weaken the defense by, taking him off second base. Well, none of that's proven to be. Edmonds has done an exceptional job. And then, we got Mason Wynn, who's at Double-A, a shortstop, extremely talented, gifted, very athletic. I don't want to say Ozzie Smith because that's not fair, but he's a very, very good shortstop, and he's swinging the bat well as well. And so Mason Wynn is going to be in the picture, say, a year from now. And so, you look at the long term. And by the way, you talk about this all the time, Bernie, the contract situation, the service time, the salaries of the players have an impact. And Donovan and Gorman, Edmund are relatively inexpensive at this point, and a Paul DeJong is not so inexpensive, and that plays into roster decisions as well.
Yeah, and I don't know what the trade market would be, right? Don't you think? The one thought that I had, and one of our guests said this too, and for the life of me, I can't remember who it is, which is terrible, so forgive me. But if they have any intent to try to trade Paul DeJong, I mean, you got that $5.5 million salary next year, which is guaranteed. But if you're a GM and you might be interested in him, wouldn't you want to see him back in the majors again? Sort of like, okay, I got to see if he comes back to the majors and he looks like he's improved. Then maybe we'll do this. I mean, would you as a GM, would you just trade for him while he's still in Memphis?
Well, again, it's going to be how many cents on the dollar the Cardinals get, or how much of their salary do they have to cover. Right. Could they get by having to pay less of his salary if he came up and performed well? Absolutely. But you got to find a place for him, number one, on the roster. Who are you going to send down, first of all? You going to send down Brendan Donovan? Who are you going to send down to make room for him? You going to send down Gorman? And then the second question is, you got to play him for a long enough period for him to show that in the middle of a pennant race. And I'm just not sure that it matters all that. I mean, $5.5 million is a lot of money, okay? But in the scheme of bad contracts in baseball, it's not anywhere near the top. It's not like a Matt Carpenter contract where it was, $17 million or whatever the heck he made. So
yeah, I know. You're right. No, absolutely.
I guess to summarize, in an optimal world, yes, you'd bring him up, you'd let him play and reestablish his value. But I don't think the Cardinals are in a position where they can really afford to do that.
And to follow up on something you said, a couple minutes ago, he had that one big hot streak down there, but he's back to kind of what he was doing. His last 9 games, 40 plate appearances, he's hit 135 with 14 strikeouts. And, 1 home run. And it's just like he basic.
So Bernie, do you want to bring him up? Do you want to play him every day?
Heck no.
Well, he had the $5.5 million,
Yeah, he had that 12-game stretch where he really packed all of his offense into about 13 games in Memphis. And he didn't hit before that, and he hasn't hit after that. So it's It's a bad situation. It really is.
Well, it's a tough situation for Paul. And, right when he was playing well like that was when Gorman was on the cusp. And they could have made the call to bring him back rather than bring Gorman up. But as it turned out, Gorman has shown that he's ready. Yeah, he's not perfect in all aspects of his game. But, in his element, Nolan Gorman is a exceptional power here. He's going to be around for a long, long time. And, Paul DeJong, again, is, just sort of I wouldn't say played himself out, but others have stepped up to make his absence not missed.
What's the latest, if anything, just observationally, what's the latest? What are you hearing about Jordan Walker? Is he continuing to get better? Is he running out of challenges in Double-A? I'm just throwing things out there to give you a chance to take the ball and run with it, not to bring football
Jordan
into
Walker,
this.
Is, at least according to some of the national experts, a top 10 prospect in all of baseball. We're not talking about the Cardinal system, in all of baseball. So Jordan Walker, barely 20 years old, at Double-A, playing third base. He isn't having an MVP year, but this is something that we talk about when we look at slash stats, average on-base slugging. If you're a 300, 400, 500 guy, you're doing very, very well. And that's the numbers that Jordan Walker's putting up this year in Double-A. 309 batting average, 408 on base, 502 slugging, 910 OPS. Those are, exceptional numbers. Now, could he do better? Absolutely. We're waiting for the power. He has only 7 home runs. He started off the season a little slow in terms of power, but the guy continues to get on base. He continues to draw the walks, 31 walks, 14 of 17 in stolen bases. When's the last time a guy his size you've seen, be able to steal bases like that? Maybe Paul Goldschmidt in his early years, actually. So yeah. Jordan Walker's a complete ball player. He's going to need more time at Double-A. I don't think folks should be talking about him moving to Triple-A or thinking about him in St. Louis this year. Now, One thing I've heard, I haven't seen it myself because I haven't been down there, but what I've heard is that Walker's done some shagging of balls in the outfield. Everybody's kind of waiting. At least I've been waiting to see when he starts to pick up some other positions because there's some guy in St. Louis, I forget his name, who plays third base who's going to be there for a long, long time. So, before Jordan Walker's ready to come to major leagues, he's got to have another glove other than the third base glove.
Our friend Brian Walton is with us from the CardinalNation.com, and he's the owner-operator of that invaluable website. And please follow him on Twitter at @B_Walton, at @B_Walton. Well, we always ask you about the guys that I'm familiar with, and a lot of Cardinals fans are familiar with. Give us a little bit of a under-the-radar type guy or two that doesn't get much attention, but you've got your eye on.
Well, there's a guy named Tink Hence.
Oh, yeah.
Hence. High school right-hander. He was drafted right after Jordan Walker and Mason Wynn a couple years ago. And while Walker and Wynn, shot to the moon, Tink Hence was brought along extremely slowly, hardly pitched at all last year, just single innings in rookie ball. Now Tink Hence is in low A. They still got the reps on. They're only letting him go 3 innings at a time, but Hence is putting up some impressive results with Palm Beach. And he's a guy, again, still 19 years old, and we kind of forgot about him. He's ranked number 11 in our top 50 prospect list, so he's outside the top 10. But that's nothing against him. So he's a guy that we definitely want to keep an eye on. Some of the younger players like Joshua Baez, who was a top pick a year ago, has been on the injured list, so we haven't been able to see him play. Won Bin Cho, the Korean that they signed this spring that everybody was really excited about, again, has just started to play ball in the Florida Complex League. So over the next month, we'll be able to see some more of what some of these younger guys are doing who are down playing in the backfields in Jupiter. And the other thing, that I hope we'll talk before then, Bernie, but we're only about 3 weeks away from the draft. So there's going to be 20 more young men joining the organization as a result of the first-year player draft, which is going to occur during the All-Star break.
Yeah, Tink Hence is an exciting talent. I looked him up when you started talking about him because I noticed that his first couple of appearances down there were lights out. But his ERA is 1.53, but he struck out about 43% of the batters he's faced so far. I mean, he's got electric stuff down at Palm Beach. So yeah, you're right about that.
He's got the darndest delivery, Bernie. When you watch him and break it down, he peeks up into the air almost and then down. And so he's not even always looking at home plate, but he's got good control, and he's a guy, for whatever reason, like I said, the Cardinals have brought him on a little slowly, but now he's in full season ball. So he's a guy that, he could be kind of like, next year's Pallante maybe.
That's exciting to think about. Hey, Brian, before we wish you a good weekend, tell us people that are interested, and especially with, like you said, with the draft coming out, and then when the draft is over, people are going to find out a lot more about all of these kids that the Cardinals drafted, to what you just said. So tell people about the CardinalNation.com and what they get for their very reasonable subscription fee.
Well, thank you, Bernie. We haven't raised our price since 2005. There is a fee, but we have reporters in all the minor league affiliates, and we bring you more in-depth news on the minor league system than anybody on the web. And each of these local reporters provide an in-depth report on their team one day each week. We even have somebody in the backfields watching the Florida Complex League in the hot Jupiter sun in the afternoon. I do a monthly re-ranking of the Cardinals' top 50 prospects plus 10 or 12 honorable mentions every month, and it's not just a list of names. It's an explanation of who's where and why, who's moving up, who's dropping down. It's just a wealth of information about the Cardinals minor league system. We have a prospect guide, 276 pages, that people can buy. Whether you're a subscriber or not, you can buy it in PDF or you can buy it in a spiral-bound color-printed book form. And I will tell you, I have yet to have a customer who bought the Cardinal Nation Prospect Guide who was disappointed with what they got for their money. Not only current year information, but history about drafts and international signings and everything you'd ever want to know about the Cardinals minor league system.
Well, Brian Walton, have a great weekend, sir. We'll talk to you soon. And of course, I encourage everyone to support the CardinalNation.com, because you and your crew do a comprehensive job and a fantastic job, and it's worth every penny to support you and what you're doing down there. So thanks, you so much.
And I also, folks may know, I do a weekly podcast with our partner Dan McLaughlin on Scoops with Danny Mac every Wednesday.
Yeah, so that makes you and I teammates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think Bernie, I think you're first string.
No, we're all in this together, same level, same classification. Right. We're good. Thank you. Wednesdays with Walton, it's called. It's outstanding. That's our friend Brian Walton, and I hope he has a great weekend. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and really looking forward to some baseball tonight